from California originally, and then went to Arizona for a while, East Coast for a while. Now I'm in Reno, Nevada, and it's actually decriminalized. I hear they've got the brothels, they've got multiple strip clubs, things like that. And I noticed like the caliber of women in these places is better than it was at the black market places and the
right.
places that were illegal, because you don't have girls getting beat on, you don't have girls getting lured in with dope.
Right. Well, and
everyone just
fucking
makes their money,
is fun.
that's what they do, and they leave.
Right, exactly. I mean, and what's so wrong with somebody making money off of doing something that they love to do? I'm a huge fan of Santa Vanessa del Rio. I'm a huge fan of hers. Not a lot of people know this about Vanessa del Rio, but she actually wrote books on transgender in the 70s. She was the first brown porn star, and she's a dom, and she's a badass, and she's beautiful and amazing. And there's nothing wrong with any of that. And we have to stop being so weird about sex in this country. We just have to.
Exactly.
Yep.
I mean, at the end of the day, people are going to do what they like doing. I mean, there's certain lifestyles right now that aren't my choice. At the same time, I'm not going to go fuck those people, so it don't really matter what they have in their pants to me.
Right. And again, like, I don't need a dad. I don't need a mom. We're all grown-ups. And honestly, a lot of kids are a lot more mature about stuff like that than we are. Yeah. And for a while when I was in Los Angeles, I actually did some dominatrix work a little bit. It's not really my thing, just because I don't really like causing people pain. I'm such a hippie, really, at heart, and I'm all about peace and love. But I can say that the BDSM community deserves, it deserves so much respect for just the simple fact that they have a structure to a relationship, and most people don't. Dan Savage talks about this all the time, about how nobody ever goes to relationship school. They never learn how to be with someone. And the cool part about BDSM is that there are things like safe words, and you have all sorts of structure. And now, granted, it's not, there are lots of parts of it that aren't really my thing, but I also respect it highly. And I'm totally with you in that, what people do behind the closed doors is their freaking business. It's totally their freaking business.
I mean, hell, some people are out there, they like dress up like animals and fucking each other. That's not my thing, but I like cocaine and loose women. That's not anyone else's thing,
Yeah, exactly. To each their own.
Yeah.
Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah, and we just have to stop. It's so it's so funny because Trump is just obviously the kind of guy who does all sorts of weird shit behind closed doors, to include being really weird about hand sanitizer. And I'm a huge fan of what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So I'm a little different about that than he is. But it's just really interesting what a chameleon he is, because now he wants to pretend like he gives three shits about God, which he doesn't. And now he tries to pretend like he's some sort of moral figure, depending on the light that you shine on him. And that's just ridiculous, because he's absolutely not that. And morality is subjective, and it should be that way. The consent is key for anything. It just is. Bottom line. Pardon the pun.
Exactly. Like, I don't know. I see both sides of the Me Too movement, because there's some people that it really is like they're from within. I see a lot of people nowadays that it feels like some people are just trying to jump on the bandwagon with that nowadays. People who wanted to sleep with someone for a better job consensually, and then when they didn't get that better job, it was, well, I'm suing now. I interviewed a pageant girl who was like, this guy was paying me for sex, and then he told me that, I could probably win a pageant, so I started begging him even more for a pageant, and then I didn't win, so now I want to sue him. I'm like, that's just your own bad decision.
Right. Well,
get it on paper if you're going to do something like that. Get a contract.
Right, exactly. Well, and that's what's so interesting about BDSM, is because there's a lot of, I don't, not necessarily paper contracts, but just contracts in general, where things are spelled out. And and I really do love Dan Savage about any of that. He just ask, just ask if you want permission for something. Just ask, and yeah, it really is that simple. and respect people. But what I really love about what you were just saying about all of that weirdness that goes on, especially with hierarchies and power and all of that, is that karma is a long game, and we forget that all the time. Like somebody will offend somebody or upset somebody or whatever, and they'll get really, really upset about something and go after somebody or whatever, and they forget that karma is a long game. And if somebody wrongs somebody, like I have a friend who says the gears of justice grind slowly but finely. So you might not get it now, but if you wrong somebody, or if you do something unethical, karma will get you, because people will know about it and hear about it, and they just will. And so you'll end up losing friends. And it's really that simple.
I think as a country we've lost sight of, just as a society in general, we've lost sight of let karma handle things, because everyone's just so hell-bent on, if something offends me, I'm going to sue, instead of just,
right.
If they're a dick, they're a dick, and that'll catch up to them later.
Right. Well, I mean, and this is when I went to George Mason and I studied at their School for Conflict Analysis and Resolution. And the focus that I had in that particular department was the difference between what we have in this country, which is a retributive justice system, and what they have implemented largely in California is a restorative justice. So not retributive, but restorative. So instead of somebody wrongs you and you lock them away, you actually have a dialogue about it and actually rehabilitate people, which we definitely don't overall in the prison industrial complex. You just lock somebody in a concrete box with a metal hole where they take a shit every day, and that's supposed to do what for them? And it's supposed to do what for the victim? That doesn't solve anything. And the expression, if you don't mind my slight digression about Jewish justice. You know how Gandhi said an eye for an eye makes the whole world blind? Well, he's right about that. But an eye for an eye doesn't mean if you take my eye, then I get to take your eye. It doesn't mean that. It actually means if I take your eye, then I owe you an eye. And since an eye cannot be replaced, I owe you until you forgive the debt.
Damn.
So, right? It's a really, really interesting way to look at tribal justice in particular, because if you're a nomadic people, you can't just kick somebody out of the tribe. It's inhumane to do that. And you can't jail them because you're moving around. So if someone were to kill a goat, kill their friend's goat, then he has to work that debt off. And the tribe keeps that going and makes sure that this guy pays it off. This kind of thing was implemented in Rwanda after the Rwandan genocide, because these were neighbors turning on neighbors and doing brutal things to each other, obviously. I mean, it was horrible. It's one of the worst genocides ever. And the government implemented restorative justice after that. You might not be familiar with this, but now in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, I actually saw this on Vice News, but they've implemented something called voodoo wrestling that came from it was actually a Hulk Hogan idea, but basically these women who had been gang raped after the Rwandan genocide are now getting in the ring with like live chickens and all sorts of wild stuff, and you can do a YouTube search for Vice News voodoo wrestling, and it is some wild shit. And I just feel like
some shit I'm gonna get stoned and watch for the rest of the night.
Right? That's what I'm screaming. I mean, it is like we doing things like that, and sports type things for justice systems just seems like a better, let people duke it out. Like, I mean, I'm not a UFC fan, but I totally get it. And doesn't it seem like that would make a little more sense? Or even mud wrestling, or any one of a number of things like that. And I totally think that one of the things that I've thought of, and sorry to jump around a little bit, but one of the things that I've thought of regarding prison reform after having been in prison is that a prison is a lot like an ashram. And why don't we just convert prisons to ashrams? and have people do the kinds of things that people do when they go on a retreat and learn how to cook and work in a community environment. Why aren't prisons more that way? I mean, the common area can be used for things other than jerking off and talking to each other. Because I saw a lot of that, and women walking in circles and whatnot. And you know, if we can put all this money into the prison industrial complex, why can't we have prisons that have open roofs so that people can have some sunlight? Because denying people that is criminal, if you ask me. I didn't breathe fresh air for a month. That's not okay. I didn't see the light of day for a month.
Yeah,
and all I did was trespass.
Arizona, it was Army tents they had a jail in Arizona. There was Army tents in the desert. They call it Tent City. It'd be 135 degrees in the tents.
Yep. I know. I heard about that. Yeah. There's a really, really good book called Chasing the Scream. That's about the first 100 years of the drug war. And when he did his reporting, apparently there was a woman who was, in for addiction, and I hate that word. But basically the guards put her out in the desert in a cage, and she burned to death. How the frick is that okay? How is that okay? How is that okay? And this guy, like whoever the sheriff is in Arizona, he's like a huge fan of Anslinger, who is largely responsible for the drug war. Went after Billie Holiday back in the jazz era. And just had a bee in his bonnet about cannabis and turned it into a big race war.
Oh, yeah, that's when they made the Reefer Madness movie.
Yep, exactly. Yep, totally. Yeah, I know, and that's not a particularly cheerful subject, but you hear what I'm saying with prison reform. It just needs to be more of a restorative justice system overall.
Oh, yeah, like I forgot which country it was, but they seem to have it the right way. I was looking it up because I hate how here a child molester goes into prison, gets probation 3 years, gets put on a website and released back to the community. You get caught trafficking some drugs, 25 to life. Out in another country, I was looking up, if you're a drug trafficker, your first offense you get 2 years, second offense you get, I think, 5 to 10 years. And then if any crimes against a child, instant 10 years, first sentence, second time death penalty.
Yeah, what's that about?
Like, I think that's how it should be. If you're doing crimes against a child, that's a lot. I would rather live next to a drug dealer than someone that hurts children any day.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. Yeah, sorry, I misheard you, but yeah, you're absolutely right about that. Well, I mean, the things that we need to do away with are human trafficking. I mean, we need to do away with that. Just completely. I mean, it's modern slavery, and it's fucking terrible. And a lot of that has to do with decriminalizing pleasure.
Exactly, because we wouldn't have all the pimps that are out there forcing girls into it if we had pimps out there that were able to get a business license, call themselves a manager instead of a pimp, because a pimp is actually an illegal term that was made by the government.
Right.
And, if they had people out there able to just get business licenses, everyone gets their own independent contractors,
right.
Things like that.
Yep.
That would be the way to go.
Well, and we need to get rid of. I mean, shame as the Chinese know, the shame can be a really, really valuable tool. It absolutely can be. It can help people behave, but we misuse it. The Puritan ethic in this country, it gets misused all the time, and so what you have is this horrible chain reaction of somebody who gets molested as a child, and then they grow up and they have so much shame about being molested that they turn into a molester.
Right.
And we have to do away with all that kind of stuff. The shame around all that kind of stuff is why we have it's why we have so many problems with sex crimes, especially. Is because
definitely.
there's all this weirdness about things being dirty.
Oh, definitely. That's like when they were doing the topless marches. There was not one sex assault that happened. They were marching through big cities and all that because there was no shame involved.
Yep.
They were out there just doing their thing. It wasn't made into this huge, dirty thing.
Right. Because why? I mean, my body isn't indecent. That was what was such an interesting conversation when I had that with that police officer who pulled me over. and I wasn't even topless, and I was